Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fix My Fees podcast, where merchant services is so boring. I bring on interesting people and pick their brain about their business and try to teach you something new. I am your host, Tavius Washington, and today we are joined by someone that I had an amazing first conversation with. It was so in depth that I really have been looking forward to this podcast. He's a best-selling author. He's was in the Army, a veteran, a British Army veteran. And he also is a podcast host. But I think what's cool about what this person does is, as the founder of Sovereign Leadership Architect, he specializes in like this. I guess the best way to consider it is he helps high achieving CEOs and entrepreneurs prevent burnout, right? He has these frameworks that we like to call RAM. And it really starts to dive into what are the critical things that you are doing that could be self-sabotage. I really think that we can have a great conversation on here. So everyone, please welcome to the podcast, Baz Porter. How you doing today, Baz?
I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, and it's an honor to have you. So when diving into it, one of the things that I love that you called yourself in a world where people love to be called coaches and consultants, you could call yourself an architect, right? And I love that term. I haven't heard of it. And it has so much meaning to me when I think of it. But when you call yourself an architect, what do you feel like that means, or how did that come about to be able to call yourself something like that?
Great question. Firstly, I think the word architect is about designing. And when we say architect, we think of buildings, structures, bridges, etc. But we can take them same concepts and use them in life and also in business. If you take a vision of your work, your business, your life, we can all envision our future self. Well, most of us can anyway. An idea or a concept that we want. We don't necessarily have the reality at the moment, but how do we get there? And if you can, Wayne Dyer said this, I think the best, if you can imagine it, you can create it. But how can you create it without a map? And I didn't set out to do the entrepreneurial thing. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was way back when, in nearly 9 years when I started this. I didn't know, I heard the word coaching, didn't know really what it was, but it was a saturated. The whole entrepreneurial world, the personal development world was full of hype, and everyone was a life coach. Everyone was an entrepreneur. Being a life coach and entrepreneur isn't easy. And I had a person once say, "You're an entrepreneur, are you unemployed?" Have a day in my shoes and tell me if I'm unemployed.
Right.
And people didn't understand this concept of everyone's a life coach. I'm not a coach. I'm just not. I know how to coach. I know how to guide people. I know how to meet people where they are. I know how to listen. But coaching is so watered down. And quite frankly, I've had coaches, and some of them, not all, have not been very good. They've given me impartial advice, but it's advice, not counsel.
Right.
And the difference between advice and counsel, advice is someone who's talking at you and hasn't done the thing. Counsel is someone who has talking with you, understanding the journey that you're going through, and talking about real actionable steps from a lived experience, not the advice of do this, and then you're going to get rich and famous, because that just doesn't work. I know, because I've had both sides of the story. So architecture is about understanding, having an inner standing of situations, and walking the journey with the person with a direct result, which is their result, not yours, in mind. It's purposeful. It's not just built from, maybe we'll do this and let's piecemeal it together and hope it works.
Right. I can see that, because you're starting at the fundamentals. I even saw something in there that I thought was interesting. I really wanted to ask you about, was talking about like rebuilding a leader's internal nervous system. And the first thought of that in my mind was that through just experiences, we all have our own like thoughts about how things go. And that can go from I need to do everything because it's, it has to be done a certain way or it won't get done right, to even just imposter syndrome that keeps you away from doing it, right? And so it really can sway from a long, huge fence of and that was like the first instinct of mine. But when you talk about that, how are you, I guess, defining the rebuilding of internal nervous system? Or what is that a person can go through?
So in the journey of creating what I did, I realized that we're all programmed. And that's just the way of the world. We're programmed since we were 8 years old.
Right.
Maybe before that. And there are many different forms of it. But they're identities. And I call mine David. And he's the 8-year-old of my version of myself that runs around my head sometimes. And I have to have conversations with him because most of what he's telling me is keeping me safe. It's designed to do that.
Yeah.
This is identity work. And there are very few people in the world without qualifications. I'm one of them. I don't have a qualification. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I've not done a PhD. I just know how it operates because I've had to do the work myself. But in that journey, I call him mine David. So my David, I have to sit on the naughty step and say, I don't need you to keep me safe right now. I'm exploring. I am safe. I'll have a conversation with you later. Now, everybody in the world has a version of this. It may not be the way I'm explaining it to you. It may be a different version, but we have that element. The burnout feature in the imposter syndrome is identities or personas. Some people like to call them, stepping forward and running the show. Well, what if you can actually name that persona and have a emotional intelligent conversation with them to understand yes, it's kept you safe up until now, but what if there was a different way? And this is when you start going through the layers of trauma, abuse, experiences, fears, belief systems, your values, because they all layer. And once you really understand them, you can then they all can play a part in your life which is productive rather than counterproductive of, I can't do that because, or change the language, why not me?
Mm-hmm. Because words are power, right?
Yeah, because once you start asking yourself that question, you can't come up with a logical or emotional answer that makes sense because we are in design capable of anything. Going back to my previous statement from Wayne Dyer, if you can create it, you can believe it.
Right.
If you can believe it, you can create it. So why not you? Why not have the version of you all of the time, but a coherent version and not a scared version, an 8-year-old version going, oh my God, I don't deserve this. I haven't got the money. I haven't got the resources. I haven't got the relationships. Because the most powerful thing you can do in any moment is say, well, why not me? There isn't a logical answer for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that was my first thought when you said, why not me? It's like, you never really, as many times as you hear that, we never think of it ourselves, right? It's always the other side of it of, we can come up with a million reasons why not to do something or why it won't work. But the moment it's twisted on why not me, you go, well, wait, I am capable. So it's hard to kind of downplay yourself when you turn it on there and you almost kind of like start to go, well, yeah, why not me then? And it kind of twists the thought. So I do like that reframing of it. And is that something like a kind of like a muscle that you have to keep training and keep working on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can feel like that, that other side kind of always tugging at you, and how do you manage that? How do you know that it's working or the conversations that you're having is, leading to the desired result if you're always having that tug?
And this is a question I kept coming up with myself when I was going through this process. And let me be clear, the process never stops.
Right.
I'm not perfect. I'm not fixed. I'm not where I want to be. I'm on that journey. In that journey, we fall. We all make mistakes. We're human beings. But to your question, let me back up because this is important. when I first entered the personal development world, again, I didn't know much about it. I was very green and very naive. And I got sucked into, we'll fix everything in 3 months or 90 days or whatever it was. That does not work. Anybody telling you that is selling something subpar and says to you, I can fix your identity, your belief system, your whole structure in 30 days is lying. I know that from experience. And I know that because I got sucked into that world and I got told, we can do it in 90 days. I stepped back from that world and I tracked all of this and it took me 1,098 days, whole component. And that didn't stop.
Right.
That was just to give me a internal insight that was actually tracked from day one when I made a decision to say, no more. There is a different way. I need to find it. And having real heartbreaking, at times, conversations with myself and learning about me. Because men, Gen X, and all of this era, baby boomers, and even today, in whatever era you're, born in, we are designed and programmed to push our feelings down. And the ones that explode with them usually have had enough of being lied to, messed about, scammed, losing money, and whatever you've gone through, relationships, all of it. But it stems from one thing, your own self-belief of what you've been programmed to believe is capable and what is real for you. That's your value system. So if your values are telling you you're not worthy, your whole outside reality, your world you see, will make scenarios to reinforce that belief. So if you think I'm poor and you actually believe it, guess what's going to happen? The scenario, it doesn't have to be true. It's not false. It's just the way you view the world.
Right.
Why does bad things always happen to me? Well, that's a belief, and it will be reinforced by the way you view the world with situations. And it's a cycle. The moment you say to yourself, there's a different way, what if, is that really true? And challenge the thought, which takes time. And it is a process. It's not going to happen in 30 days, 60 days, or even 90 days. I've never seen anybody do it in 180 days, which is 6 months. It doesn't compute. It's constant reinforcement by noticing it, allowing it to sit, and then when the appropriate safe time is to have a conversation, whether that's in private time, whether that is going out in nature, whether it is in front of a computer. I've done mine in front of it. I've just literally got ChatGPT, it was ChatGPT ages and ages ago when it first came out, and had a conversation with ChatGPT.
Right.
And what came out of that conversation was a complete transcript of my 8-year-old running the show. And I was like, no, this is going to stop. Because then I can look back on it and say, that isn't true. What is true now? Because the 8-year-old version is not running the show. And every single human being that I've ever met, I've met a fair few, has this version. But knowing it and slowly going through the process of, is it true? Why are you telling me that? Where did that thought originate from? Because most of the time, it isn't actually your thought. It's a previous experience through fear. It is an imprinted thought from a parent or a sibling or a school. It may be even way back when, before you would even remember why you were growing up as a toddler. Not being able to have food or not being seen is a common one. I'm afraid to be seen because I wasn't seen. It makes no sense in a logical mind,
right?
But that's how the brain operates. So it's constant work. It's not one fix, all done. And I've worked with hundreds, nearly 1,000 CEOs and entrepreneurs at very high levels, and also just breaking into that level of, I want to know more. And everybody's a human being and everyone has the same pattern.
Right.
and it's dysfunction, but it's masked and has symptoms in different ways.
What do people, instead of me assuming, what is it that people misunderstand about this? Because a lot of this does seem like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it also is a part of kind of understanding and reprogramming your subconscious at some level, right?
Right.
Because it seemed like the more you talk about it, I'm like, wow, like it will take a long time because we can get to a point where our subconscious kind of works and we don't even think about it and we automatically react. And I like how you said it too. Sometimes we don't ask why we reacted a certain way or why we feel, we just do. And because we're so used to reacting to the subconscious, we just turn the other way. Obviously, it's protecting me. I'm going to get away, but you never ask why. So what is it about the subconscious that people get wrong or misunderstand when it comes to using it or harnessing its power?
That's an amazing question. As I said, I want to preface this with, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know I'm not a neurologist, so I don't know the workings of the brain.
Right. The scientific.
Yeah. But it's just through my own experience of what I've discovered through my own journey and having thousands of conversations with other people. The subconscious is the internal programming that we all run. It is our belief systems, what we actually believe. It is our value system. And they're two different things. Our beliefs are not our values. There's a whole thing around that. I'm not going to go into it because we'll be here for a very long time. The subconscious is running 95%-ish. Some say it's a bit more, some say it's less. I'm going to go ballpark 95% of everything. We're just not aware of it.
Yeah.
We think we have control of our thoughts. We do not.
I believe that.
We are essentially programmed to think a certain way.
Mm.
We can see the same event, exactly the same picture, and have two different perceptions on what happened.
Right.
According to our beliefs and our values. It's the same picture, same movie, same script, same actors, but it's a different version that we're seeing. And the interpretation of it is different. So the subconscious isn't a quick fix. It is imprinted in us. It's the underlying script that is running 100% of the time, every single day. It's the thing that makes us breathe. It keeps our heart beating, temperature regulated, all of the other stuff that happens. And it controls the way we see things.
Yeah.
Even to the point of what we wear actually for someone else. It's not for us. Make feel good. But the watches we wear are an outside perception. How people buy isn't about them. It's about an emotion tied to how other people view them, mainly, depending on what they're buying. It's it's very rarely about the price. It is the perception of status towards everything other people view about us.
Right.
Because we feel we're not adequate. We feel we're not good enough.
Yeah.
And the moment you're aware of that, you can change it. Because that is the subconscious programming we were just talking about. It is someone else's perception that you've been told is true. You are good enough. You don't need to prove anybody to anything. You need to be you. And what happens with the subconscious, because of programming, most of us are afraid to step into that version of ourselves. I call it the sovereign self. Not the role play that we like to give to everybody.
Right.
Where we subconsciously judge ourselves about how we speak, what we look like, how we dress, how our kids look if you've got family. There's this whole load of things, but it's all programmed in that subconscious. Now, to your question, if the subconscious is running things and the conscious brain is just playing witness, how do you change it? Repetition. There are therapies out there. I came across one very recently that is very good, and I will recommend to get a certified practitioner with this. It's called RTT, and it's a kind of hypnosis that actually guides you through the pinpointed place of where the fear started. Do not go to anybody without an official certification, and you've had research done on them independently. Go to people, ring people if you can, have conversations who've had an experience with them. Do not make the mistake of going to Google and believing everything you see on there.
Yeah.
Because you will get burnt very, very quickly. It's the same as a text message. If I have a discrepancy with somebody or something to say, I will pick up the phone. I will have a conversation with them. Because in anything written, because of what I was saying earlier about how you perceive things, it can be misconstrued. You don't have the same energy.
Right.
One version of that script could be taken a different way, and suddenly you have a different problem. So to remove all of that, the bias, have a conversation with someone who's been through the process. What was the result? What was the journey like for them? And have 2 or 3 conversations. Just don't go onto the internet and go, I'll go with this person. He's got lots or she's got lots of reviews, because they may not be real.
Right.
Because that's the world we live in today. If someone goes to my review page, every single person in there is real. They're a client. I've worked with them, and I encourage them to reach out to them because they've had the experience.
Right.
But the moment you go into something like that, you're stepping into a journey that is truth. And it's not my truth. It's what you believe to be true, and it will unfold as that journey continues. The subconscious runs the show. We just think our conscious brains and our decisions are real, and that's we're in control. We're not. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
With that?
Yeah, I like that. And I like that term, the subconscious run the show. We just, we're just a part of it. And I understand and I appreciate, like you say, that's why it's not a 3-month or a 6-month. We've been honing our subconscious since birth, right? With all the experiences that we're doing, then expecting to be able to undo that and control it in 30 to 60 days, unreasonable, right? And I understand that aspect from it. But so people can get an idea, because I love the fact that you've been really talking about how like other people can be helped and things like that. Not really bragging on yourself, but I want people to kind of get a little understanding. So walk me through or take me through a time where somebody came to you. They could have been skeptical. They could have maybe came to you way later than they should have come to you, but something where at the end of it, when they've gotten the transformation, you said to yourself, like, yes, this is why I'm here. This is why I do this, for this kind of results.
So one of the things that stands out to me the most was an entrepreneur. I was a part of a community a while ago, and the entrepreneur had a lot of what I call silent beliefs. Online, he was successful. He had a community, had everything he wanted. I was actually in a live show with him on YouTube, and he made the mistake of challenging me to something very similar to what you just said. Help me understand what people do. So I actually took him through a very simple process. I asked him to close his eyes. This was live on YouTube. I asked him to close his eyes. I went through the entire process. He was in tears because what he spoke, what the version of himself he spoke to was I think the 3-year-old version that said to him he wasn't safe. And that guy had a 28,000 YouTube following, plus another 40 on LinkedIn or wherever, and all the other platforms. That one video on YouTube, I think it racked up nearly 100,000 views. And it wasn't because it was a different show. It was just because it was real, and the process he was going through, a lot of people could relate to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when someone says it doesn't affect me, it doesn't work. It does if it's done properly and safely. And the person you're doing it with, you trust. Because you can't do it with someone you don't trust. You can't do it, and you certainly can't do this with a family member.
Right.
You cannot do that with someone that close to you, because your protection mechanism will come into play, and you'll just go passively through the process. You need to be led through it properly. But if it's done correctly, you start to feel the changes immediately, not just see them, because that comes later. It's the feeling that will come first.
Right.
You'll see the world a little bit differently, and it won't happen. It may not happen. It may not happen straight away. It may happen the next day when you wake up. something very minor. It may seem insignificant at first. Even the world looks a little bit brighter.
Right.
Colors change. The dog comes to greet you in a different way. It'll be your energy. You'll get more compliments. These are the signs that something is changing internally. And it doesn't have to manifest straight away. It can manifest in your energy. Everything is energy. We are going down a spiritual path because that's a quantum thing that we do later. And it's proven by quantum theory. It's not theory anymore. They're proving these things via energy, via measurements. Dr. Joe Dispenza's doing this in what he does in meditation and manifestation, all of that stuff. So amazing things have happened. Tony Robbins have done the same thing. He's measuring the environment as well. And then now creating actual measurements from people's energy before, during, and after these events. So it's not just woo-woo anymore. Energy has a part in it. And it may just be the slightest shift, but you may not notice it at first. But your closest people who know you the best, especially your children, if you're around your kids or you're around a very close partner, they will notice it very, very quickly.
Really?
There's something different about you. You look different. You look brighter.
Right.
You smile more. You're laughing more. It may just be that slight shift, but listen and pay attention to it. Because it's confirmation, whether you consciously remember it or know about it, that things are changing. And just do the work. Be honest about where you are. So the process happens when you step into the sovereign part of you, the unapologetical part, the part where you're like, well, I haven't got anything to lose because what I did before didn't work. And it got me to where I am today and I'm safe. But what happens if I stop playing safe all of the time? That's deep exploration. And the people that I love to really go deeper with are the people who like to play really stupidly big, audaciously big. And there are things, and there's certain patterns with very high achieving entrepreneurs and CEOs and executives, and they are audaciously truthful. They just don't care. I'm keeping this clean because it's a podcast, but you can read between the lines. They just don't care.
You're able to say whatever you want on my podcast, just so you know.
Well,
but I know what you mean.
If that listener is going, well, don't swear at me, please don't, I'm always like conscious of that because of people coming in there like, well, he swears a lot. If you work with me and you know me very well, I do have very colorful language, and that's okay.
Yeah. Don't
try and change me because that part of me won't change. And I'm real, I'm raw, and I just say what I think, but I say it in a way that is helpful and not mean or nasty. If I upset somebody, it's probably because we're not vibing on the same level. Right. And I'm not here for everybody. I'm certainly not a people pleaser.
Right.
Because that never got anybody anywhere. But when it comes to real I'm not saying this word lightly, but when we talk about real transformation, it's not pretty. It is not something that doesn't take work, because it does. It can happen literally overnight, but you have to be in that position and place where you're like, okay, I'm ready to see that version of myself, and without judgment. Because the moment you start judging, you go backwards, because you'll then the judgment is there to keep you safe. The judgment now is keeping you in that realm of it happened because. Don't need a reason. Don't justify it. Just be aware of it. And the most successful people that have been through some of my programs are the ones that go, I'm all in. That's the other version of myself. This is where we're going, and we work backwards from that result. That's the RAMS system you were on about earlier.
Yeah. How do you work with the people who want to play it big, right? You say that's the people that work with best inside of the RAMS framework. How do they go hand in hand? Because if I'm remember correctly, results, attitude, mastery, and systems, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. So,
Brilliant.
yeah, how does that work with those people who want to play big and they're thinking about working with you?
So one of the traits that I noticed when creating all of this, everyone had a system. Everyone had a formula.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they work in that person's view of that formula. But I stepped back and I said, what if there was something that could create intentional movement, forward momentum that could be operating at any level, from, underdog all the way through? And I said, what are the patterns? Everyone has patterns. That's how the universe works.
Yeah.
Everyone has a version of themselves, a future version of them, a result. Yes? Would you agree with that statement? So you can agree, you can envision a version of yourself 2 years, 6 months, 10 years ahead. Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like people have kind of tried to get us since we were kids to think about our future so we can kind of like have our envision. It may be the same repeatedly, but yeah.
What about 1,000 years?
No. I don't think the moment you say 1,000, like I don't even really think people think 100 years or 50 years, right, to be honest. Yeah.
There's a reason for that. And the reason is quite simple. We are not remembered, and the maximum is 2 generations. Do you remember your great-great-great-grandfather's name or grandmother's name? No. Are they ever talked about? No. What if you were? What if you can envision a version of yourself that people talk about positively for deeds you have done long after you've gone? And I'm not talking about a monument. They praise you at churches or whatever you get that. I'm talking about around a dinner table.
Right.
That's where I start.
I love that.
And the reason for that, it gets you to think bigger, outside of yourself. And it's scary. People think George Washington or Abraham Lincoln, that big. But it doesn't have to be like that. You recognize it because you're familiar with them. You don't have to have your name printed on a dollar bill. Can if you want, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
But it's whatever important to you, whatever matters to that individual. What do you want people to remember you for? The way you held people in the podcast, the impact you had on their lives, the impact you had on your family, the generational wealth you created to create the freedom further down the line. Whatever that version is,
right.
That's where we start. And this takes a process. So once we have a vision and it's audacious and it's big and big enough to make you feel uncomfortable, which it should, then we look at attitude and authenticity. Is it aligned with you? Do you have the right attitude for it? Most people don't. And they confuse mindset with mind states. A set is a limitation. A state of being is unlimited. So we change the mindset, which is the limited version, into an emotional state of being, something you live and breathe. And we check the alignment with ourselves and the result that we want. Is it still scary? Kind of.
Yeah.
Because it's the unknown. Then we look at mastery. Okay. We've got the result. We've got the alignment now. And that takes time. What about making it even better? What if it could be even finite, even more refined, so I can feel it, I can see it, I can actually walk through that journey where I'm at in spirit, because we're not going to be alive in 1,000 years, at the dinner table. What does that look like? What are they doing at Thanksgiving? What are they actually thanking? Mastery. And you bring it and you work backwards into present day. How can I make micro changes? Tony Robbins calls this the 2 millimeter shifts to enforce the behavior, to reinforce the pattern, to make it more tangible. This is where most people start, the systems, the how-to bit.
Right.
Everyone goes in, I've got to know how to. 2 weeks ago, you didn't even know a result. How the hell are you going to know how to yet?
Right.
So we start to build systems that suit you every single day. Could be a simple switch of something you do in the morning. It could be how you present at work. It could be a timeline shift, as in a time frame. Instead of doing one thing you've always done at 10 o'clock, you move it to 2:00. Little shifts make massive moments. And then you build systems specifically towards a result that you want step by step. But you always have a bigger vision in the background. That's RAM's mastery. And the vision I am creating is to teach that, get everybody access to it in the schools, in business, entrepreneurship, in universities, and teach the principles of it so it's easy to deliver and easy to grasp and can be adapted to any scenario. You can adapt that to business if you wish. Adapt it to personal life, companies, corporate companies, training, stage work. It can be moved and the model can be shifted to align with the person receiving the information. It's not just this and that's it, because there are other things and pillars to go with it. Language is another one, and that's under the systems part of it, how it's communicated. Energy and quantum mechanics is a part of that as well. Yeah. And there are stages, because if I just went brain dump, it'd fry everybody.
Right.
But it's not for me. It's about my vision for people like yourself, for your kids, for people, other people's families, is to pass the information on in a central place. So if you imagine like a university, Mind Valley, Landmark, and NLP all rolled into one, they had a baby. That's what I'm creating. I want it accessible for everybody. It's not mine. It's not a gated framework. It's going to just be for high-level entrepreneurs. That's amazing. And I love to work with them people. But I want the legacy that I'm building to be remembered from generations ahead. So you and your kids can take part in something that hasn't had a name quite yet, or it has a name, but it's dotted about in all other places, and it's only accessible for a few people. I want to put it into, not me personally, my name into household. I don't want that, but I want the education to be accessible for everybody, because we're all of the same cloth. We're a human being.
I love that.
And the things that have been divided for us through media, through status, through wealth, have created segregation and divide. And we have a lot of violence and unrest in the world for many different reasons, but they forget one thing. We're a human being.
Yeah.
Not different at ourselves. We have different visions of that, but we are all one race. We're not separate. We will have a heart. We will have a brain. We have feelings. And that's not recognized in a lot of places in the world. And this is how they get the power over you, because they think you're different. They make you believe you are, and you're not.
I love that. So I know you, when we talked about like the way that you're going in the future is building it something that's accessible for everybody. And I love that, right? Because that kind of accessibility does pass down. And if what you're doing, for instance, to help me create wealth, that's something that I pass down, which is kind of like a byproduct of you, because it's like that thank you there. And I think that's awesome. But if people wanted to work with you right now, who are your ideal clients, or what are they going through that you could feel like they should be reaching out to you? So who should be reaching out to you?
And thank you. I think the point, you've got to be ready for change. You have to recognize within yourself that, yes, things aren't the way I want them. That has symptoms. It's commonly known as burnout. But there are symptoms to burnout. Depression is one of them. Feeling off, tiredness, even though you slept and you've had the holiday, you've been to the retreats, you've been to therapy, you've done the meditation, you've done everything. And there's this underlying feeling that something isn't right.
Yeah.
But there's no name for it. People call this executive collapse, dysfunction, burnout, imposter syndrome. There's many names for it. I just call it the silent collapse, because it's in that lane of, we kind of know what it is, but there's no word to it.
Right.
There's feeling to it. There's this idea. And most people who I've ever met are going through this are already successful. Mm. They've built companies. They've built the outside image, the social media profiles. They look happy, but when they come off camera, there's this void. And there are traits with everybody at every level. But the ones who are willing to do the work are the ones who recognize that void, are curious, and they're wanting to be honest with themselves because they know there's another level.
Right.
They don't know what another level is yet because they don't know, they haven't got the words for the diagnostic or what's actually going on. And the symptoms, as I said earlier, imposter syndrome, he's better because, they're better because. Burnout, which is tiredness, mental fatigue, emotional fatigue, doing all the doing stuff, but not being a human being. We forget to be that human being. We can become a human doing. We're on the hamster wheel. And it comes a point where you just like, there must be another way. There's got to be someone out there to go, they get me. They're not trying to fix me, but they understand. And they can meet that person where they are. That's my ideal client. And it's usually a woman, but I am open to have conversations. People just don't come and coach with me, or they don't come and work with me. I have to know firstly I can help them.
Right.
And that isn't, it's high ticket value. I do have high ticket pricing. That is there. But I have something for everybody, well, whatever level they're at. And as I said, I don't know if I can help you because I'm not for everybody. I may really upset you, and they're not the people for me. And that's okay. But the diagnostic and the manifesto, right, you've read the manifesto.
Awesome.
That's sort of symptoms of where people are. And that is, it's built not as a marketing tool, but as to specifically relate to that person reading it going, this is me.
Yep.
This is what I'm feeling. Or some of it. May not be all of it. But there'll be one or two things in there that will. And it's very specific. And it's the route after that is to have an hour with me, completely free. It's not a sales call. Again, I don't know if I can help you. But that diagnostic and the questions I ask are built from 4,000 conversations I've had with people. And it's very intentional. About 108 questions, takes about an hour. From there, I know if I can help you, where you are on whatever's going on. And then if you want that conversation afterwards, we can have the conversation. Okay. I get a view of you. You get an experience of me. It's not, I'm going to sell you something because I want something to sell and I got numbers and quotes and all. I don't care. I care about the human being behind the what they've got going on. And I've had VPs come through that. I've had executives, I've had entrepreneurs, but everything in there has been built from real conversations. And when I stepped back and rebuilt, because I failed miserably lots of times, I actually validated everything. I said, I've got this thing I'm trying to build. I reached out to over 750 people in my LinkedIn. I said, can I have a conversation? I haven't got anything to sell you. Do you want a conversation? I've got an idea. I want to validate it. And that was the start of building what I've done. Nice. And there were real people's experiences. And I said, look, I've got nothing to sell you. That was my first opening line. But if I did in the future, would you be interested? Every single person I had an interview with and asked 3 simple questions for said yes, because no one is doing this. And I'm sat in that market between, I've traded like a blue ocean, which is awesome. Between like Tony Robbins and all of that stuff, Simon Sinek and all of that stuff. And who was the other person? I can't remember her name. It was somebody anyway. So I'm in that middle lane. And what I've done is create this lane of sort of a new field of identity work. And it is deep identity work with a certain class of people, without over advertising it, without marketing it, without spending thousands of dollars on ads trying to refine shit. It doesn't work. But I really want honest conversations with people who are ready and want to explore a different version of themselves.
So filling out that diagnostic and being able to hop on that one-on-one, that's the best way to start. At least figuring out if you can even help them, right? And then going from there.
Well, I don't claim to help everybody. Right. Because I'm not here for everybody, and people may not like me, which is fine.
Right.
And if that is the case, amazing. You've had an hour with me, and you move on.
Right.
But if you are, if it does land, if I feel I can help you and you're ready to go that next level, that's when we have a conversation. And it's very organic. It's not salesy. It's not, I can help everybody, because I don't want to help everybody.
Right.
I know my numbers per quarter the people I can help. And when I hit them, there's a wait list, and it's a genuine wait list, depending on where you are and what happens on that conversation. And it is just a conversation. It's not, I can help everybody, because I don't claim to.
Yeah. That's awesome. I like that. It does give counter to like most people who are just waiting for anyone to hop on so they can figure out a way to sell them, instead of taking a step back and going, let me just talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if there's anything I can do for you, or if you even like me, my style, my attitude, because this is what you're going to have to be working with for the next X time. Let's have this conversation, and then from there deciding what's best for each other in a combined effort, but getting a little taste of it, right? Getting you to get into there and get into that person and their mind and start to have the process and conversation of what's going on. But I can also see, because of how in depth, right, this is, we're talking about stuff that can unearth a lot of things. You have to be open to change, right? It doesn't mean you have to be open to listening to Baz right away, right? But you have to be open to change, or everything you say is going to face the block wall of protection of, nope, see that one word you said, now I know it, you said subconscious, I know it's not real, I know it's not, it's just, you got to be ready for chicken, you got to be ready for something new.
The one thing I know for sure with all of this, I'm the result of actually doing the work.
Right.
And I know it's not easy. I know aspects of it are extremely scary. Change isn't for everybody. Some people are very stuck in their ways. And I've worked with people who are baby boomers, 60, 70 years old, very successful. One of them worked for Goldman Sachs. He was instigating, the initial way back when, in that boom of financial 80s, the 70s and 80s, when Goldman Sachs was the in thing to go to, JP Morgan.
Yeah.
All of them, I worked with some of their top level executives. I'm not name dropping. I'm not telling you who they were or who they are. But that level, IBM I've worked with, this level of people who are very dead set in who they are, they're very comfortable, and they realize they've climbed this corporate ladder, which is awesome. You've done the thing, and then they've built a prison, not freedom. Mm-hmm. And then they've been watching me I didn't know this at the time, but they were watching me for 2 or 3 years. And I'm like, you're doing what? 2 years? This is insane. Why were you watching? What did you pick up the phone? I'm scared. Oh, you've got all this power. You're this person. You've got all this. Why are you scared? You could pick up the phone in New York and get any table you want, and you're scared of me? Little old me? Wow, that's a lot of power you're giving away. They had a conversation to go in people's heads, and then they want to know why. They must feel safe to go that level. I'm not here to judge people. I'm not here to say it's right, wrong, or upside down. That isn't my role. My role is a guide, to meet people exactly where they are and try and mirror back what's really going on, and then help them together build that path to whatever they class as freedom or success. It's not my job, or any consultant, coach, wellness practitioner, whatever one of you call yourself, to dictate what success is for you. Yeah. That's what you feel. And that will change as the boundaries are stretched. And it isn't $1 million, because money, I will tell you now, will not make you happy. I know that because I've been broke and I've had money. And I've slept on park benches in minus 55 degrees centigrade, Fahrenheit, sorry, we're talking over here in New York, in polar vortexes. And also I've had 7 figures and lost it. So I've been both sides of the track, and I've been lost. And I know what pain is. I know what alcoholism is. I know what drug addiction is. I know because I've been through that journey. But none of it made me happy. The thing that lights me up, having conversations with people like you, giving the value. But it's lived experience. It isn't coming from a textbook or a course that I did. I'm not an expert. Never claimed to be. I'm not another expert you see online. I'm the guy who did it, and he's doing the work every single day. I'm not perfect, but no one in the world is.
Right. At all.
And when you recognize that, come home to yourself. Come home to what you believe within you, not a version of you that's been created because it felt right and it's someone else's design. Step back, have a conversation with you. What do you want? What's the version of you that you truly want but isn't quite there yet? And if you're ready for that conversation, an honest question and answer, and it isn't difficult, it's do you agree or don't agree? That's all it is.
Right. I love that. You can tell the passion you have behind it because it's real, right? You're not trying to think of this as like some grandiose thing that everybody can come in and have this monstrous transformation. You're a realist, right? Like you have to come with this set of programming, but you're also a product of your own, right? You're not just out here saying something without doing the work. You've done the work and went, wow, right? Look at what this done for me. And now you're putting that transformation onto them. But that does also lead into the other part of what are you like outside of it? When you're not helping people, when you're not, on making me for an hour and a half have these deep thoughts afterwards of like, wow, man, what am I thinking? Am I playing too? Like that was a big thing that we were talking about that kind of thing. I'm like, playing too small. And we'll talk about that afterwards. Some kind of revelations I've had since chatting with you. Hey, it's been a lot, and it's been a great journey since our last chat of just like how my mind has changed. But for you personally, what are some of the things you like to do outside of business? What kind of things light you up outside of business, or what kind of things do you love to do?
So I live in Colorado. With Colorado comes a lot of snow. It comes a lot of cold weather, but it also comes a lot of mountains. And I like being outdoors as much as I can. I have 2 cats, Max and Marlo. We rescued them. And the whole existence of me being here was down to my wife. I met her when I was traveling. It was a crazy story, but I like to spend time with her. Her name's Nicola. And go out with her on the weekends. I love to fish. I go out fishing, bike riding. I just spend time outdoors. The one thing I don't do a lot of now, and I like doing, is actually spending time skydiving or parachuting, you would call it. So extreme sports, I'm a bit of a junkie for that. I love the adrenaline rush. But yeah, I just try and spend time with people who matter to me. Believe it or not, I'm a granddad, which is really scary for me to even say that. So I've got kids, great grandkids through marriage. We have, Nicola goes to see them more than I do. They've got them in Arizona. We've got kids in California. I met my wife in California. That's, crazy. A longer story. But she's the reason I'm here today. She is the reason that I saw a lot of what we were just talking about within myself. And I actually changed. I was still drinking when I met her. I was still smoking when I met her. And I no longer drink. I haven't touched a drop in, 4 or 5 years. And I've not touched a cigarette in nearly 6. So I was smoking for nearly 40 years and drinking a lot of that time as well. And it wasn't she made me change at all. It was something that I recognized in myself. And I was like, this can no longer continue.
I love that.
And it was that decision. It was when I was smoking, we were living in Redondo Beach, an apartment. It was less than a postage stamp, 600 square feet. So that's how small we were living in. And I'd come up to go outside to smoke, she would move across the other side of the couch. I said to her, why do you move? And she's never smoked a day in her life. She's never drunk even coffee. All right. That's how she is.
Wow.
She said, I don't like the smell. And I said, this stops today. And it wasn't what she said to me. It was the way she said it. And I got up and I went, I am no longer a smoker. I am a non-smoker. And I tore up the tobacco, flushed it in the toilet, and that was it. I snapped all went bang, and I snapped all the letters. I took all the paraphernalia around from the house, got rid of it. And I spent a week doing acupuncture for a detox. Wasn't easy, but I made a decision to change. And it's that sort of thing that keeps me going and why I'm here. Going out with her, honoring our relationship. She's the closest. She's my best friend. And I love spending time with her, going for walks, just being a human being. This isn't being a human being. Stood here, day after day, trying to invent concepts, trying to help people reach out. That isn't being a human being. Enjoyment of what you do is being a human being. The rest of the stuff is human doing. Don't ever forget to be a human being. What lights you up? Me, it's going out outdoors, doing crazy stuff like jumping out of airplanes with a parachute, rock climbing, I love. Cycling, I love. I have many memories with my father going down when I was younger, 50 mile an hour, going with a tailwind behind us down the road. They're childhood memories that I can never get back. Cherish everything. But cherish what you love best. Don't forget this. Whatever you're doing as an entrepreneur is not your identity. What you do outside of it makes you who you are today.
I love that.
And to create the freedom, be honest with yourself. Be honest with you. Because for a long time, I wasn't. I became a person I did not like. Part of that was smoking. Part of that was drinking. You can change it. You must decide. And then the other things come with it. The freedoms come with it. You get to explore more of who you are and who you're becoming. I love gardening. I spent last weekend before, redoing the whole front garden, planting.
I love it.
You know, it's about what you do outside of this office or wherever your workplace is. But do it because it lights you up, not because someone else's pleases. It pleases somebody else. If it's your grandkids, go and spend time with your grandkids. And a former client of mine, she was eight-figure business exit, 200 and something million exit, and she now owns a farm in the middle of nowhere with a husband. All she does, she owns a software company. She sells SaaS software.
As a
As a service. And it's GXL, so she has GXL platforms and all the rest of it. She doesn't have to do it. She's a multi-millionaire, centimillionaire. She just sits there because she loves doing it. In her spare time, she goes and tends to the lambs, to the livestock. She spends time with her grandkids, but she has the freedom to do it.
Yeah.
She was a former client, now a friend.
I love that. Yeah.
Never forget who you are, what your passions are. I gardening, cycling, go out walking, anywhere out of this office, I love. But it isn't tied to my identity. It was at one point, and it wasn't making me happy. I actually collapsed here. Literally, I physically collapsed. And when I say burnt out, I just killed over. Diverticulitis. The next week I was supposed to get on these calls with some very successful business people to onboard them. I couldn't even move, let alone get on calls with them. And I lost all my clients because I couldn't get on a call with them. Not one of them said, it's okay, go give you more time. Not one.
Right.
When I got back on my feet, I actually phoned in everybody individually and I said, look, I don't think we're going to go to jail. I wish you the best of luck, but you won't be coming back into my world. And then there was five phone calls I had to make, very difficult decisions. They would have made me in that year $5 million, nearly. And after what happened and they didn't have any compassion, no understanding, I went, I'm not working with you. I refused then, not because I was in a position to, because I wasn't.
Right.
But I had to raise my standard. I had to do what was right for me and what I wanted in my world. These decisions are difficult. Don't do it because it makes someone else happy. Do it because it's right for you.
Yeah. That's like the full circle of it, right? With everything that we've talked about so far, from the beginning of like where this started with you to the person that's listening to it right now thinking, should I reach out to Baz or not? Everything comes down to a decision, right? You had an opportunity with someone that you could see a future with and that head bumped and you could have been like, oh, but it's just a couple of smacks. Oh, maybe I'll cut down. You could have done so many different things. And it's not to say that person would have left you. They may have tried to work it out, but it wouldn't have been the same. But your mind immediately went, this is a decision I have to make. And you did it. And it's the same way if they're going to work with you or if they want to, they have to be open and it has to be a decision that they make is like, okay, I have to change this because I want the legacy. I don't want to keep repeating the same X, Y, Z. But it does start with a decision because without the decision to change or to at least reach out to you, right? Even if it's just the diagnostic tool, even if it's just the one-on-one, without the decision to just do that one outreach, then you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I definitely understand that.
Well, I'm not here to convince anybody.
Right.
You know, I don't have a sales script. I don't sit there going, this question, this question. And scripts, they work, you know, if they're done properly. They do.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, I don't know if I can actually help you yet. I don't know if you are ready for the work. I know it isn't for the faint-hearted. It isn't for everybody.
Right.
And it's not designed to be for everybody.
Right. And that's better that way.
Mm-hmm.
If it was better,
if
it was there for everyone, it wouldn't be able to be as powerful as it is.
Correct. I mean, as I said earlier, I've positioned it as a blue ocean, and it is. This is not me just saying I've got the blue ocean because I hear that a lot. And then actually do some research, and it's not. Everyone's doing it. There's a lot of people doing the same thing. Where I've put myself intentionally is because it's in that lane where I have two or three very big players in their industry. They're very successful, and they skim around the bit that they know how to do, because everybody knows that level. They know how to do it,
right.
But it's not their audience. This is what I do, and I do it every day, day in, day out. And the reason I do it is because I've done the walk myself. I've lived the journey, and I continue to do so.
Yeah.
That's why I know I can do what I say I can do.
Awesome.
It's not about everybody come and see me because I can. Then no, please don't do that. If you're ready to have a conversation, let's have a conversation.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Well, I want to thank you so much, Baz. You see, we always get lost in conversation when we're talking, right? Because it's always so impactful what you're doing. And I can always I can feel it. I can tell how much you genuinely care. It pulls me in, right? And I want to know more, and I get curious, and I talk, but you also have a presence that, like you said, people can feel, right? Your genuineness of it, but that you want the change that you've seen. And then every time you change someone else's life, it kind of reinvigorates you to go, this is why I'm doing it. And you want to do more of it, right? To the point where you want it to be a household name that's in schools. That's just, something that surpasses the one person of you into a bigger deal. And I think that is awesome. And I appreciate you coming on this podcast. We got to do this again, right? We got to do another one, especially we were talking about how we could do a whole separate on the beliefs versus values. Tempted talking, going to ask you a question about that. But when you said that, I was like, you know what? You're right. And given how much we've talked already, I'm like, man, this would be a 2-hour podcast. But just the in-depth that you've given us right now, I know there's an amazing conversation behind that, because I think too many people think they're literally the same, right? And when you said that, my first thought was, wow, I didn't think that they were different, but I know they are now. But now I want to expand on that. Like, how are they different? How it affects you? How are they different like that? So we should definitely chat on that. But Baz, thank you so much. Your energy is infectious. You do pull people in, and I love what it is that you're doing, because as an architect, you really are helping people structure that bridge from where they are now to where they want to go. Instead of just giving them the same, hey, work harder, spend more money, reinvest. It's like, no, let's break it down on a mental level, a subconscious level. And then the action steps behind it, not just taking in and consuming the information, but what are we doing on a day-to-day basis? And you've been doing this for years, and you're still working on it. So it just goes to show that, you are training behind where you're going. And then I can't imagine 5 years from now, the things you'll learn and what you're pulling people towards at that moment in time, man. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you for having me. And I hope this was of value to your listeners.
No, it was definitely of value to me. And I think I can speak for my listeners that if people stay past those first 5-10 minutes, which, like I said, it may not be for everyone, but if they stay past that first 5-10 minutes, they're in, right? They're pulled in, and it's awesome from it. But thank you so much again, Baz.
Thank you.
Cool. And one more time, if people want to get in touch with you, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to book that call, or if they want to figure out if they're even right for you, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
The manifesto, just read the manifesto. I think the links will be below.
Yes.
Have a read through that, and there's an opportunity to book some time with me on a diagnostic, or even I think it's a 15-minute call. Again, there's nothing on your end other than your time. So that's the way forward. And if it resonates, great. If it doesn't, you have an amazing time. And when it does, come back.
And those of you, if you've stuck around this time, that means it genuinely has pulled you. I say, just do it. Just do the one-on-one and have that, because you've spent this much time. Especially if you've been here before, my podcasts are usually 30, 35. The longer ones are 40 minutes long. We're well past that, double my usual time, because that is, which means if you stuck around, this must be really pulling for you. Fill it out. I usually will say, hey, if you like this or like that, anybody who stayed from this point on through the entire thing, please go ahead and reach out to Baz. And if you also like this content, make sure you like and subscribe. It's really, really helpful. I'm trying to create this as something that's really unique and fun to me, just talking with people, as you see, like Baz, that are just so interesting and unique and not your average Facebook ad guru. And it really helps me out when you like it, subscribe. And if you have an interesting business, please reach out to me too. I want to be able to have those awesome conversations, because without that, I wouldn't meet interesting, awesome people that I feel like are going to be a part of my life for a long time. They're like that. So thank you so much for everybody else for watching and tuning in, and good night.